A new year is upon us and a fresh half of the NHL season for hockey dominance and fantasy hockey winning. On today's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Waiver-Wire Mondays are getting ever more critical. That's why you're tapped into your source. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Happy New Year, and welcome back inside the lab to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. And thank you sincerely for making us your first listen every single day. 2024 is going to be a big one on tap. I can feel it, everybody, not just fantasy-wise, but all around. Let's get it. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Steele, we're starting off this new year with a bang, but we're going to continue to do what we do. 30 minutes, breaking down all of the fantasy news, NHL news, and of course, betting news that you guys out there need. Much love for holding us down for a whole other year. Steele, right over to you. We're keeping today tight. Top waiver wire targets, bit of a weird week, but still going to be important for fantasy GMs out there to be hitting that waiver wire.
Very important every single Monday to hit the waiver wire, or every single day throughout your weekly matchups. I got two honorable mentions before I get to my first guy that I really want to talk about. And these two honorable mentions, I'm going to rattle them off quick, but it's two guys that I've talked about very frequently and very much so over the last couple of weeks. Number one, Adam Fantilli, 25% on Yahoo,
nice,
37% on ESPN. I've said this for the last couple of weeks. He's been absolutely stellar for Columbus, like you've mentioned with those other young guys. He's on a 4-game point streak right now, 23 points totals. The peripherals are very, very solid. He likes to shoot the puck a lot every single game. So I like Adam Fantilli. And number two, honorable mention, Dakota Joshua, once again,
your boy,
22% on Yahoo right now. He's getting it done. And until I see his value on ESPN and Yahoo, go up a little bit, I'm going to continue to mention him. 3-game point streak.
Respect.
He's got 8 points in his last 7 games. He's a Banger League beauty. He gets penalty minutes. He's got hits. He's putting shots on net a little bit more than usual. So I like those two players as honorable mentions. And again, I'm going to keep mentioning them until I see their stock value go up.
Absolutely love it, Steele. Joshua is a big, big boy. And who was the first player you mentioned? I'm already Fantilli. I don't understand how the numbers are that low. Get a piece of this kid. And if you're not buying into the Columbus Blue Jackets, that's fine. They can score goals. If there's anything that they can do, Voronkov, Chiankov, and Marchenko, those three are nasty and they're putting up points. Then you add in Fantilli, Goudreau doing a little bit of something. Kind of. And there's offensive value to be had there, Steele. I like it. You want to keep going, or should I hit you with a player?
You hit me with a player.
All right, giddy up. Because Thomas Harley, 31 games played this year.
Love it.
16 points already put up. 49 shots on net. The ice time is up. This is a kid with only 71 games in the NHL under his belt. 6'3", big lad, good skater. He can put up offensive numbers, Steele. How about this? Already in his rookie season, he's on the second power play unit in Dallas. He's on the second power play penalty kill, and he's putting up points over his last 5 games. Let me just pull this up. 4 points for Harley. He is out there in league, Steele, and I'm telling you, he is going to be an important piece in Dallas. I've said this to you, at least maybe off air, a number of times. I love this player. 28% on ESPN, 21 on Yahoo, and the Stars are a good team playing. The Preds, Habs, and Avs this week, 3 teams that give up a lot of goals.
And I've been listening to you because Thomas Harley hasn't left my team in the last 2 weeks since I picked him up off the waiver wire targets. He's been an absolute stud on the blue line for me since I lost Dougie Hamilton and Shea Theodore to the IR. So he's been a great fill-in spot for me, but I don't see him moving or me dropping him anytime soon since he's been producing. So kudos to you because he's been an absolute stud so far this season.
18th overall draft pick as well. Just throwing that.
Yeah, he's been very, very good for the Dallas Stars, and he's on pace to get up there as one of the top defensemen for them in their future. I got Alexis Lafreniere on my list here. 29% on Yahoo, 18% on ESPN. He's got 10 goals, 22 points in 35 games. He's on pace for 52 points, which would be a career high for him. And that's what I love right now about Alexis Lafreniere. Even though he was the number 1 overall pick in 2020, and he had so much expectations coming into the NHL level, I love the progression and development I've seen so far from his throughout his game. He's shooting the puck a lot more frequently, but his physicality has dropped off a little bit. He's currently on a 3-game point streak, 6 points in his last 6 games. And he's playing on a line with Artemi Panarin, who's been absolutely killing it for the New York Rangers. I believe he had a hat trick the other day, or he had 2 goals the other day in that 5-1 win against the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's just having an unbelievable season. So he's getting a lot of opportunity and benefiting it from that in that top 6 role right now with Panarin and Trocheck. He's been awesome to watch. Like I said, the progression of Lafreniere at the NHL level right now. I think there is much more for him to do and progress with his game, a little bit more free flowing, because I haven't really seen him carry the puck as much as I'd like. I haven't seen him really drive towards the net as much as I would like to see. But again, there's a lot more things that Alexis Lafreniere can do, and I believe he's on his way to doing so. 3 games this week for the Rangers, Carolina Hurricanes, Chicago Blackhawks, and the Montreal Canadiens. So a very advantageous schedule for the New York Rangers.
Very quickly, before we get to break, we're going to get to bets at the end of the show. Same game parlay special, only 1 game on deck, the Winter Classic. We'll talk about it and our favorite waiver wire targets right after the break. But very quickly, Steele, you mentioned the point here. I think aside from those smaller things with Lafreniere's game that's obviously coming around, he's playing with Artemi Panarin. It stops right there for me, because Panarin's having one of those seasons that he's up there for me as one of those guys in the top 10, and he's cooking. Then you throw in the fact that you have Vincent Trocheck on this line, and I love it even more. So if this line sticks, you're going to see Lafreniere's value and ownership go way up. This is a really good line that if the Rangers keep winning games, it's going to stick together, and that means even more. Playing with Trocheck and Panarin, I don't care who it is. And then you add in Lafreniere's intangibles. I really, really like where this is headed for this kid. I like where it's headed for today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get on the action with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet that we love, including live same-game parlays. Find your bets in the new Explore tab and make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find the popular parlays, and a lot more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, and as well, go check out Locked On. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Happy New Year out there. Thank you so much for tuning in on the first day of 2024. We absolutely love all the support you show us every single day. That's why we do Waiver-Wire Mondays, Waiver-Wire targets every single Monday, so we can help you out for your weekly matchups. Flip, I'm going to throw it back over to you. Who's the next guy on your list that you're targeting for this upcoming week?
We just mentioned a situation where a player like Panarin's on a special heater. You just pay attention to who's around him. Of course, Trocheck's going to be owned in most leagues, not an option. But then you look at the other option, who is still going to get value just because of how good these other players are. This isn't rocket science. This is how you win your league. Connor Bedard, obviously one of those special players who is on a heater. So take a look around at the pieces that you can get. Obviously, Bedard not being one of them. Phillip Kurashev's game all around leaves a lot to be desired. He's a young player who is still figuring it out. And I know 24 isn't that young. He doesn't have a ton of top experience. I know over 200 games in the NHL now. Anyway, he is on the top line playing with Bedard. That's where it stops. And then you take a look, ice time on the rise, playing on the top power play unit and contributing 5 points in his last 5 games, Steele, including 5 assists. I know he's not putting it in the net, but he's playing with Bedard. So there you go. He's going to continue to get these peripheral assists, power play points, shots on net. And if you need that, I like Kurashev this week, 4.8% in ESPN. Also, Chicago, 4 games, Preds, Devils, Flames, and Rangers. Aside from the Rangers, I'm loving that week. This week, for sure, I like Philipp Kurashev as an ad.
Connor Bedard has just been a thing of beauty to watch this season. And yeah, it's been absolutely unreal to watch the players around him as well. Just like, when they move and mix the lineups and see who he's going with, and they start getting going as well. So
yeah,
Connor
right now
Bedard's
it's Kurashev. Have a look.
Yeah, Kurashev, have a look at him, because Connor Bedard, again, he makes everyone better that plays around him. I've got a goaltender and one more forward before we get to big time bets. I got to talk about the Seattle Kraken, because they've turned the ship around than we saw at the beginning of the season. Yeah, you saw what I did. They're a little pun in nice. There. But Seattle Kraken on a 4-game winning streak. They're back to being a 500 point percentage team right now. They're only 3 points back of the second wild card spot. But this has a lot of reason to do with the play of Joey Daccord right now in the blue paint. 43% on Yahoo, 17% rostered on ESPN. Philipp Grubauer remains out week to week, still with a lower body injury. So I want to suggest keeping an eye on both the Kraken goaltenders, both Chris Driedger and Joey Daccord. But I want to highlight Daccord over Driedger, because Driedger has only played 1 game this season. And even though it was a great game, a 2-1 37 save win over the Calgary Flames. Again, it's only 1 game so far. Joey Daccord has gotten the go-ahead in the blue paint right now. So I'm going to highlight him more than Driedger. But Daccord he's been absolutely great since taking over for Philipp Grubauer. He got an 8-5-8 record, a .915 save percentage, a 2.46 goals against average. Over his last 7 games, he's 5-0-2 with a .950 save percentage and a 1.57 goals against average. So he's been absolutely killing it. He's taken the reins over, and he doesn't want to give it up anytime soon. And this is the crazy thing, because before this season, he's never played more than 8 games in an NHL season. So he's absolutely taken over the blue crease right now for the Seattle Kraken. He's got them headed in the right direction as they continue to figure out some of their younger guys, and their offensive right now has been a little bit more poor than the season prior. But this is a great opportunity for Daccord to get himself noticed by the Seattle Kraken for a future extension, or by another team in the NHL looking for help in the blue crease. So Joey Daccord's been killing it right now. He's on an absolute heater. He is out there in both Yahoo and ESPN.
Yeah, he is.
Only 2 games this week for the Seattle Kraken, but I believe that Joey Daccord could get both of them. Maybe they give Chris Driedger an opportunity against either the Vegas Golden Knights or the Ottawa Senators, but you got to take a look at Joey Daccord right now.
Most definitely. And when you hear those numbers, Steele, also, the Seattle Kraken, I'm pretty sure, don't give a damn who is in net if they're turning it around right now, because the start of this season, none of their goalies look good. And when you have the offense struggling, and I think that's really has been what's held this team back this year, is they've been struggling on offense. The power play is right there as mid, like they're 15th in the NHL in power play proficiency. I do think, though, however, if they do get that offensive going, and you've got a guy like Daccord clearly feeling it and playing for his time and his life in the NHL. This is a guy who doesn't get a lot of love, and he's taking his opportunity and running with it. You've seen it at this point of the season over the last number of years in goaltenders, Hamburglers, Yaroslav Halak's done it. Lots of goalies come out of nowhere and they make a name for themselves. And I think that's what Joey Daccord is trying to do. And it's never a bad idea to try and get a piece of that, because get goalies on a heater, you take your team over the top. Speaking of which, a guy on a really good team who's having a really good season, who doesn't get a lot of love because he's kind of just very quiet, is Charlie Coyle. 12 goals, 13 assists, 25 points for Charlie Coyle, 63 shots on net. He does a little bit of everything well. And for me, he's the perfect week-to-week ad. Right now, four points in his last 2 games, 44 hits. He throws the body around a little bit, but he is on the second power play unit in Boston. Actually, let me check that. It might be the top power play unit. Anyway, he plays on a good second line with Marchand. I really like this guy's game. The Bruins have, let me pull it up this week, Steele. By the way, he's out there. 29% on Yahoo, 45 in ESPN. Columbus, Lightning, and Pittsburgh this week. I like it for Boston, and I like it for Charlie Coyle if you need a little offensive love. Here goes the voice once again, Steele. But, yeah, what do you think about Charlie Coyle? And I am bringing this power play up. I think he is on the second unit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like Charlie Coyle as one of those depth guys because he's one of those guys that moves back and forth from the second and third line position. But he's one of those guys that he's not going to get very hot where you're going to see him go for 7, 8, 9 games even on a point streak. But he'll put up 4 or 5 point game streaks and then kind of cool off for a little bit. You drop him off your team, you pick him up a couple weeks after that because he gets back hot. So I like Charlie Coyle as one of those depth guys who continue to do that.
Last game, 6 hits, 2 blocked shots, +2 and 2 assists.
And those are the type of games that he'll bring for you. Like again, he might put up a game where he has 0 points, just 2 shots, and then the next game he'll put up 6 hits, 2 blocks, a couple of shots, and then a goal.
Exactly. He does a couple of bit of nothing and a lot of things, but right now I'm feeling it. Good week for them, and he is just putting up points, so why not ride it? Who else you got? I got one more guy I want to talk about.
Well, this guy hasn't been getting any love this season, and I'm actually astonished at how low this player is rostered right now on Yahoo and ESPN. Gustav Nyquist, 14% on Yahoo, 6.5% on ESPN. I would understand those numbers at the beginning of the season, but now after 3 months of looking at his play for the Nashville Predators and looking at the numbers, again, I'm astonished at how low he's rostered right now. He's got 8 goals, 27 points in 37 games for the Predators, who hold that first wildcard spot in the Western Conference. He's on pace for 60 points, which would tie his career high. He's currently on a 5-game point streak with 4 goals and 7 points in that time. He's shooting the puck a lot more this season than the past 5 years that we've seen from Gustav Nyquist. And this is the thing that again, if it was at the beginning of the season, I understand the numbers because he is up there in age. He's a veteran. He's 34 and a half years old right now, going to a Nashville Predators team, which a lot of us didn't expect much out of because it seemed like they were going into a rebuild. But look at what they've done. They bring in Ryan O'Reilly. They bring in Gustav Nyquist, a couple more players. And Luke Shen. He was injured for a lot
He's been bust.
Yeah, he's been a bust. So but Nashville Predators have been really good, and Nyquist is a huge part of that. He's on the top line with Forsberg and O'Reilly. He's getting some nice power play time. He's got 10 power play points this season and 3 games this upcoming week for the Nashville Predators, Chicago Blackhawks, Calgary Flames, and the Dallas Stars. So a little bit of a tougher schedule when it comes to the offensive side of things against the Stars and the Flames. But I like the schedule at the least, and Gustav Nyquist has just been getting it done right now on the top line for Nashville.
This chunk of the schedule, here we go with me and talking about portions of the schedule, but it's important to recognize what's going on around these players. They're people too, and they're dads, right? This is a time of year that is family first. And of course, they're athletes as well, and this is what they do for a living, but you can't help but remember, betting right now, tricky. It's going to be an outdoor game we're talking about, tricky. Some of these things play into when you're wagering, and for sure when you're making moves in your fantasy waiver wire lineup. I got one more I want to talk about, Steele. Let's do it right after the break, and we'll get to big time bets as well.
Big time bets right around the corner. Only one game on the schedule for the new year, January 1st. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, making it your first listen every single day. Again, thank you so much for all the support you show us. Make sure you hit the subscribe, the follow button, and leave a 5-star review. Thank you so much. We'll get to big time bets very, very soon. But Flip, you got one player before we get over to those bets.
Yes, sir. Florida Panthers are playing some of the best hockey that they have played in the last couple of seasons right now. And if you're not buying into it, they're 2 points behind Boston for the conference lead. So maybe we need to be paying attention to this, because last year there was a lot of people, including you and I, who were ready to throw a lot of things at the Florida Panthers run and poke holes in it. But they are showing all of us that run was maybe not as, let's just say, improbable as we expected. They are playing really good hockey, and the deployment of Evan Rodrigues needs to be paid attention. You've heard this from me before. He's a very versatile player. He doesn't jump off the page. He doesn't do anything too great, but he does everything really well. And once again, let me pull this up because, man, I'm having tab madness over here, Steele. I know he's getting deployed on that top line with Barkov right now. And to me, again, right there, you stop and you pay attention. He's also playing with Sam Reinhart on that top line, and there's not many players in the NHL as hot as Reinhart. So you want to get a piece of this. Also, Rodrigues points in 3 straight games. Ice time is up on the top line, playing in the power play. Oh, wait, hold on. Here we go again. I think it's the top power play unit, Steele.
I believe he's on the top power play,
He's been moving from the first to the second. Anyway, right now on the second, both are good. Go out there and get yourself some Evan Rodrigues. He is owned at 42% on Yahoo, only 13 on ESPN.
Wow.
They got 3 games this week, Yotes and Avs, and then the Knights. So the Knights is obviously tricky, but they haven't been playing well either. So not a really bad week. Go out there, have a look at Evan Rodrigues.
Definitely a tough schedule against the Vegas Golden Knights and the Avalanche, but the Florida Panthers have been killing it, like you said, 4-game winning streak. Yeah. Evan Rodrigues, Alexander Barkov, and Sam Reinhart have been some of their top players in those last 3 games. Top 3 in the Atlantic Division. Let's get over to big time bets, though, where the money is made. Let's start the new year off hot flip because I could really use it. It's been an absolute dog show, let's say the least, for me this last month. December 2023. So let's start off 2024 January off with a heater.
Okay.
1 game on the schedule. I'll kick us off if you don't mind. I'll do the same game parlay, rattle it off real quick. First pick, Vegas Golden Knights on the money line against the Seattle Kraken. Even though I was talking about Joey Daccord, Vegas Golden Knights have won their 9 of their last 10 matchups between the Kraken. So you got to go with the trend here in the hot hand in the Vegas. So take the money line for the Vegas Golden Knights. Second bet, Vegas, Seattle, under 6.5 in this matchup. 6 out of the last 10 have been under the number. And even with those other 4 games, they just crept over 6.5. So I like the under 6.5 in this matchup. I really like Logan Thompson. And like I said, I really like Joey Daccord right now. So I'm going to take the under in this matchup.
Love it.
And for my last pick, I'm going to go with William Karlsson, anytime assist. He's been absolutely great this season. He's been one of my boys.
Love it.
He plays well against the Seattle Kraken. Very underrated. But the lock of the night will be the Vegas Golden Knights on the money line against the Kraken.
Lock of the night over here is also Vegas Golden Knights on the money line for obvious reasons. The Kraken are playing better, but I can't deny those numbers, and I can't deny that this Vegas team does need to turn it around because they started the year on an impressive heater. I forget what they won, something like 11 of 13 or something like that.
Yeah, they were like 11-1-1, something
like that. And 5-5-0 over their last 10 isn't exactly awful. But for where this team should be and how good the Vancouver Canucks and LA Kings are in this division, I don't think they want to be playing around. So I think that you're going to see this Vegas Golden Knights team come back from the second half. They're well coached. This is a good organization top to bottom. They're going to come back from this break motivated. So I think the Knights are in a good spot here. Knights on the money line is my lock of the night as well. Vegas at Seattle, my second pick, under 6.5 the last 3 games between these two, under the number. And your lock of the night goes so nicely with my last pick. Hold on. Tab Madness. In his career of 9 games regular season, Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson's line mate, has 10 points and 7 goals. So give me the Johnny Marchessault anytime goal to go nicely with Willie Karlsson. And those are my 3 picks. Same game parlay. Lock of the night, though, would be the Golden Knights.
Absolutely love the 3 picks. There's only 1 game to choose from, but I love all 3 of
we got to do that one now.
Got to do the Jonathan Marchessault anytime goal with the anytime assist from William Karlsson. Those are the locks of the night and the 3 picks for January 1st, New Year 2024. Happy New Year out there. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. And again, please go to Locked On. They've launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. They are here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So please go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Happy New Year. Have a great day out there with your family. Good luck with all your bets, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Happy New Year. Peace.